You can see my hoses out there. Maybe right there. I mean, we had daffodils had come up. You see the daffodils there? And then we got this like 4 inches of snow. What was it? 2 nights ago. Today's the 15th. Overnight on the 13th. Yeah, like 4 inches of snow. I skied it. You can kind of see some of my tracks out there. Anyway, back to the journal. This is the second part. I accidentally hit a stop button, so this is the second part of my journal video. Film idea. And this idea where the perspective is on the viewer. We see the film crew seeing us and the director directing us, because his main actors dropped out, and so he turns on the audience. And my thought was to make it somewhat like a Rorschach test or something sort of general to address the audience and get them in the mousetrap of their own collective sort of sameness. What they're doing, they're sitting, watching, but get them to kind of react in a similar way. My little characters, always the breasts, always little kind of mushrooms and roots, and much of it organic and much of it just, there's a guy who turned into a tree. Much of it just kind of weird, abstract. I think really interesting. I don't know, imaginomorphs. Yesterday, ski and sweep in the wet freeze. New shock like a sudden time-altering machine. I'd awakened in a strange desolation and depression in my entire being, and upon the land which seemed to blot out completely the idea of mankind or human kindness at all. I feel beaten and battered, barren as the Sahara, but the house stayed relatively warm. Yeah, lately I wake up just, I feel like I've gone 12 rounds, just beaten. This guy I drew. They're just following orders. It is for your health. My health is my own business. No, it isn't. Take your shot. They're just following orders. Nature needs musts. In full anarchy be. This is my creed. Let the fools and ghouls and the brigades of greed meet a fiery death. I don't want money unless it's drenched in blood, said Rumbo. This is yesterday's entry. T.S. Eliot, why should the eagle stretch its wings? Why should I mourn for that lost power? Rumbo says, my temper soured in kinds of ballads. I said farewell to the world. And I said, moi aussi. Make the city eat its dust, fill boudoirs with the burning powder of rubies. He continues in Une saison en enfer, a season in hell. Let me see that the altars of Solomon broth run over the rust and mix with the cedron or kedron. Writing a lot, a few pages a day, probably. More interesting shapes and some film criticism. And then this is the latest thing I've written. furious bundle of nerves. I wrote this for my oldest cat. She's become quite nervous. Been with me through 11 years of swerves, calico, tricolored, little miss things, Zoe Bowie and her gremlin avoidance. Unease, her green eyes know me, her body fandangos again. Sleeps through these days, and I would do the same if I didn't have 100 things to do every day. I love you, Zoe Bowie from Dad. And that's it. That's where I am right now. So, pretty good little run of writing for the last 6-7 weeks. Well, about 2 months actually now. What is that? 8 weeks. Who is that? Tegretia. Okay. Take care, y'all.